Have you ever stopped to ask yourself if all your relationships are truly worth your time and energy? As we get older, it's natural to start reassessing the connections we've built throughout our lives. But what if I told you that at 65, I've made the conscious decision to step away from certain neighbors and even some relatives? It's not about bitterness or anger. It's about making room for peace, joy, and deeper connections that truly add value to my life. In this video, I'm going to share why I've chosen to prioritize my time and boundaries, and why this decision has brought me a sense of freedom I never expected. You'll hear how time, wisdom, and a few tough lessons have changed my approach to relationships, and why I believe that embracing solitude and being selective with the people in your life is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. By the end of this video, you'll understand how creating space for yourself doesn't just lead to peace. It can transform your entire outlook on life. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the demands of others or found yourself drained by relationships that don't serve you, then this is for you. You'll discover how to set healthy boundaries, protect your peace, and embrace the joy of solitude. Stick around to learn how these choices can bring clarity, fulfillment, and the freedom to live life on your terms. Don't miss this life-changing perspective. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Valuing time at 65. I'm 65, and I've made a decision that might seem surprising or even controversial to some. I've chosen to distance myself from certain neighbors and relatives. This isn't a decision I've taken lightly, nor is it one rooted in bitterness or anger. Instead, it's a deeply personal realization that has grown clearer with time. Today, I want to share my journey with you, not just as a story, but as a heartfelt expression of what I've learned about life, time, and the pursuit of true happiness. As the years pass, time transforms into something more precious than gold, a treasure whose worth only deepens with every sunrise. At 65, time is no longer an abstract concept or a boundless resource. It's a fragile, finite gift. And as I hold this gift in my hands, I've come to understand its immeasurable value. This understanding didn't come all at once. It arrived gradually, like the dawning light of a new day, bringing with it a mix of clarity and a quiet urgency. In my younger years, I gave away my time so freely, to obligations, to endless small talk, to relationships that drained more than they nourished. I was so eager to please, to fit in, to meet others' expectations. But now, as I stand at this stage of life, I realize how costly those hours were. They were spent on people who didn't truly care, on situations that didn't bring joy, on routines that left my heart feeling empty. The truth is, not every connection deserves the privilege of your time. This clarity has led me to make choices that prioritize my peace and well-being. I've stopped engaging in meaningless conversations with people who only gossip or criticize. I've let go of relationships that felt one-sided or filled with hidden resentments. It's not about harboring ill will. It's about protecting my sense of joy and contentment. Some may call it selfish, but I see it as self-preservation, an act of kindness toward myself. Now, my days are spent in ways that truly matter to me. I invest my time in moments that feel alive, tending to my garden, reading books that inspire me, sharing meaningful conversations with people who uplift my spirit, and cherishing the quiet beauty of solitude. These are the moments that fill my soul, moments I know I'll look back on with gratitude. To those who may judge this choice, I ask, isn't time the most precious thing we have? Shouldn't we all strive to spend it wisely, on the people and pursuits that bring us genuine happiness? At 65, I've learned that life is too short to waste on anything less. I hope that this realization inspires you, no matter your age, to treasure your time and to spend it in ways that truly nourish your soul. Because, in the end, it's not just about how much time we have, It's about how deeply we live in the time we're given. 2. Reflecting on past relationships. As I sit here reflecting on the journey of my life, I can't help but feel the bittersweet tug of memories from my younger years. There were so many moments, so many precious hours, that I let slip away, chasing a sense of obligation or bowing to the weight of guilt that I didn't even recognize at the time. I remember vividly the countless favors I did for neighbors who seemed all too eager to take but never extended a hand in return. How many times did I rearrange my schedule, drop everything, and go out of my way, only to realize later that they wouldn't have done the same for me? And then there were the family gatherings, those supposed happy occasions, where the air was often heavy with unspoken tensions and buried resentments. The laughter sometimes felt forced, the hugs hollow, as if everyone was there because they had to be, not because they wanted to be. And then there were the acquaintances, the ones who filled the room with idle chatter, keeping the silence at bay but never really seeing or hearing me. I spent years surrounded by people, yet so often felt alone. I think back to those times now, and it's almost painful to admit how much of myself I gave away to people who didn't value it, didn't reciprocate, and sometimes didn't even notice. I see now that I was trying to be everything to everyone, bending over backward to avoid conflict or disappointment, all while quietly neglecting my own needs and my happiness. But now, at 65, the haze has cleared, and the lessons stand before me like a well-worn path. Life has shown me that not all relationships deserve the same weight in your heart. Some people enter your life and bring warmth, joy, and a sense of connection that nourishes your soul. These are the relationships worth cherishing, nurturing, and holding close. But others, far too many, I've learned, drain your energy, sap your strength, and leave you feeling emptier than before. These relationships masquerade as obligations or traditions, but they come at a cost I didn't realize I was paying until much later. It took me decades to learn the power of saying no. For much of my life, I saw it as selfish, even cruel, to turn down a request or an invitation. But now I see it for what it truly is, a gift to myself. Saying no to a gathering where I know I'll leave feeling drained or to a conversation that's steeped in negativity isn't shutting people out. It's choosing to honor my peace. It's recognizing that my time, energy, and emotional well-being are finite and precious. Why spend them in places or with people who don't make me feel valued? In learning to say no, I've found something far more important than the approval of others. I've found freedom. Freedom to choose who I spend my time with, freedom to protect my energy, and freedom to invest in relationships that uplift me rather than weigh me down. It's not about turning my back on people. It's about turning toward myself. I've learned that I can still be kind and compassionate while setting boundaries. I can still love others without sacrificing my own needs. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. These days, I approach relationships differently. I no longer say yes to every invitation or request out of fear of disappointing someone else. Instead, I ask myself a simple question. Will this bring me joy? Will this nourish my soul? If the answer is no, I permit myself to decline without guilt. It's a small act, but one that feels revolutionary after years of putting others first at the expense of my well-being. As I look ahead to the years I have left, I'm filled with a quiet resolve. I will no longer allow myself to be weighed down by one-sided relationships or empty obligations. I will choose with intention, surrounding myself with people who see me, value me, and bring light into my life. Because at the end of the day, life is too short, too fleeting, to spend on anything or anyone that doesn't fill your heart with warmth and your soul with peace. If I could go back and whisper one piece of advice to my younger self, it would be this. You are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. Protect your heart, your energy, and your time, because those are gifts you can't get back once they're given away. Value yourself enough to choose wisely. And so, I move forward, carrying these hard-earned lessons, determined to live the rest of my life with the clarity and courage I once lacked. 3. The truth about neighbors. What I've come to realize, as the years unfold and my perspective deepens, is that life truly begins when you slow down and notice the moments most people overlook. There is an unparalleled beauty in savoring the small things, the ones that quietly slip by in the rush of everyday life. My mornings, for instance, have transformed into something sacred. The ritual of coffee, its aroma filling the air, the first warm sip that touches my lips, is no longer just a habit but a moment of gratitude. I sit by the window and watch the sunlight filter through the trees, casting golden hues that seem to dance in harmony with the gentle breeze. My garden comes alive in these moments, leaves swaying as if in conversation with the wind, and I feel an almost childlike wonder at the simple, perfect rhythm of nature. These moments are no longer fleeting. They've become the very fabric of my existence. They aren't interruptions in my day, they are my day. Every pause, every still breath, every chance to sit with my thoughts feels like a gift I once ignored but now treasured deeply. The act of slowing down has taught me to live with intention and to see the richness in the ordinary. Life isn't about cramming as much as you can into each day. It's about living in harmony with time, not racing against it. It's about creating space to feel, reflect, and embrace the peace that comes when you let go of the pressure to do more, achieve more, or be more for others. This realization didn't come easily. For years, I felt like I was trapped in a relentless cycle of expectations, both those placed on me by others and those I placed on myself. I would fill my days with tasks, obligations, and the endless pursuit of being needed. But it came at a cost. I felt drained, disconnected, and as though I was pouring from an empty cup. Letting go of that mindset was a journey, one filled with difficult decisions and moments of self-doubt. But now, I can say with certainty that it was worth it. I've learned that my worth isn't tied to how much I give or how busy I am. My worth is inherent, and my time is precious. Gratitude has become the cornerstone of my life. When I think about the time I have left, I don't feel fear or regret. I feel a deep, abiding appreciation. There's no rush anymore, no finish line I'm desperately trying to reach. Instead, I see life as a journey, one where every step offers an opportunity to notice, to savor, and to love. I've come to realize that my time is my own, and I protect it fiercely. This isn't out of selfishness or fear, but out of a profound understanding that time is the most precious gift I have left to give. I no longer allow it to be spent on things, or people, that don't nurture my soul. Instead, I pour it into the moments and connections that truly matter. There's an indescribable joy in reclaiming your time and choosing to live deliberately. I've found that when I stop chasing the distractions of the world, material things, superficial relationships, or societal expectations, I'm left with the things that truly bring me peace. Time spent in nature, with a good book, or in the quiet presence of someone who understands me, these are the moments that fill my heart and make life worth living. It's not about quantity anymore. It's about quality. Each day becomes a chance to cherish what matters most, to love deeply, and to let go of the rest. I've also learned to guard my time from those who don't value it. It took me years to understand that not everyone deserves access to my life or my energy. There's freedom in setting boundaries, in saying no without guilt, and in prioritizing yourself without apology. I've stopped trying to please everyone, and instead, I focus on nurturing the relationships that are built on mutual respect and understanding. The result? A lighter heart, a clearer mind, and a sense of peace I never knew was possible. This is the truth I've come to embrace. Life isn't measured by how much we accomplish or how many people we please. It's measured by the depth of our connections, the joy we find in the little things, and the love we allow ourselves to feel. Slowing down has given me the gift of seeing life as it is, messy, imperfect, but breathtakingly beautiful. It's not about rushing to the next thing. It's about pausing long enough to appreciate where you are right now. My journey has taught me that the greatest joys are often the simplest ones. A quiet morning, the sunlight on my skin, the sound of birds in the distance. These moments are my treasures. They remind me that life is not a race but a series of small, meaningful experiences. And in these moments, I find myself not just existing, but truly living. 4. Family isn't always easy. This clarity wasn't handed to me on a silver platter, nor did it come wrapped in an easy lesson. It was earned, painstakingly so, over decades of living, loving, losing, and learning. In my younger years, I believed that family was the one unshakable foundation in life, the place where love and loyalty would always flourish. But life has a way of unraveling the idealistic notions we carry, replacing them with reality, which can be messy and far more complicated. The lessons came in waves. I gave too much of myself, more than I had to spare, thinking that sacrifice was the ultimate proof of love. I trusted too quickly, convinced that loyalty was something others would mirror without question. But trust, I learned, isn't always reciprocated, and sacrifice can sometimes feel invisible or even expected. There were moments of betrayal that left me questioning my worth, and times when the people I thought would stand by me drifted away when I needed them most. And then, there was the exhaustion. The endless cycle of giving, forgiving, and trying to fix what was broken. I spread myself so thin that I began to forget who I was outside of my role as a mother, a sibling, or a daughter. The weight of responsibility often felt suffocating, but I carried it anyway, thinking that was what love demanded. It took years to realize that love should never feel like a burden. The hardest lessons, however, came from loss. When loved ones passed away, it left a void so deep it felt like part of me had been taken too. But even in that grief, there were moments of clarity. Loss has a way of sharpening your focus, of making you reevaluate what truly matters. I realized how fragile life is, how quickly everything you hold dear can be taken from you. It was in those moments when I was stripped bare of distractions and surrounded by silence that I began to understand the value of my own company. 4 years, I ran from solitude, filling my days with obligations, relationships, and noise to avoid being alone with my thoughts. But slowly, I learned that solitude isn't something to fear, it's a sanctuary. It's where I began to discover who I truly was beyond the roles I played for others. I learned to find joy in the stillness and to embrace the quiet moments that allowed me to reflect, heal, and grow. Time, which once felt like an enemy, began to feel like an ally. It no longer seemed like a relentless force pushing me toward the end of life, but a wise teacher urging me to cherish every moment. I started to see my days not as a countdown but as a collection of opportunities. To do what brings me joy, to surround myself with those who uplift me, and to live with intention. Now, at 65, I guard my time fiercely because I finally understand its value. It's not just about how much time I have left, it's about how I choose to spend it. Each hour I dedicate to something that nourishes my soul feels like an act of self-love. Whether it's reading a book that inspires me, taking a peaceful walk in nature, or simply sitting with my thoughts, I've learned that these moments are worth more than any material possessions. I used to feel guilty for prioritizing myself, for saying no, or for choosing peace over pleasing others. But now, I see that honoring my own needs is not selfish, it's necessary. By valuing my time, I'm also valuing myself, and that has brought me a sense of freedom I never knew I needed. Looking back, I wish I'd learned these lessons sooner. I wish someone had told me that it's okay to let go of toxic relationships, to set boundaries, and to choose yourself. But perhaps this kind of wisdom is something that only comes with age. It's a hard-earned gift, one that requires you to endure the storms of life before you can fully appreciate the calm that follows. At this stage of my journey, I feel like I've been handed a second chance, a chance to live authentically, unapologetically, and intentionally. It's not always easy to unlearn decades of habits, to let go of the need for approval, or to stop feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness. But the peace that comes with it is worth every struggle. Life doesn't wait for you to figure it out. It keeps moving, with or without your consent. And so, I've decided to meet it where I am. Right here, right now, with a heart full of gratitude for the lessons I've learned and the freedom I've found. At 65, I am no longer chasing the ideals of others. Instead, I am embracing the simple, beautiful truth that I am enough, just as I am. And that, I believe, is the greatest gift of all. 5. The joy of solitude. Boundaries are no longer optional for me. They are essential, non-negotiable lifelines. They are the result of years of trial and error, and the wisdom that comes only with age. As I reflect on my life, I see that setting boundaries is not about keeping others out, but about creating a sacred space where I can truly be myself. At 65, I no longer seek to explain or defend why I set these limits. My boundaries are the hard-earned fruits of experience, heartbreak, and the quiet realization that I must protect my peace if I am to live authentically. In my younger years, I mistakenly believed that being available to everyone, all the time, was the ultimate expression of kindness and love. I thought that constantly saying yes proved my worth and made me indispensable to those around me. I prided myself on being the person people could turn to, the one who never said no. But as the years passed, I began to feel a deep exhaustion that I couldn't quite put into words. Every yes to someone else became a no to myself, a small betrayal of my own needs, desires, and well-being. The cost of always being available wasn't immediately apparent, but over time, it wore me down like water eroding stone. I started to notice the imbalance in my life. I was giving so much of myself, my time, my energy, my emotional resources, that there was almost nothing left for me. I would lie awake at night, feeling drained and empty, wondering why I still felt so unfulfilled despite doing everything I thought was right. It wasn't until I began to prioritize my own needs that I understood that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness at all. It's a slow surrender of self. The journey to understanding this wasn't easy. At first, setting boundaries felt awkward and unnatural. I worried about disappointing others or being seen as selfish. But the more I practiced, the more I realized how liberating it was to say no without guilt and yes only when it truly felt right. I learned that boundaries are not walls meant to isolate me from the world. They are gates I control, allowing in only the people and experiences that align with my values and bring me joy. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. Solitude has become my sanctuary, a space where I can recharge, reflect, and reconnect with myself. It's in those quiet moments, sitting with a cup of tea or watching the sunset, that I find the clarity and peace I need to move through life. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's the purest form of self-care. In solitude, I am free from the noise and demands of the world, free to simply exist without expectations or obligations. It's where I listen to my heart and honor the person I've worked so hard to become. Looking back, I realize that my willingness to be everything for everyone came from a deep-seated fear of being rejected or unloved. I thought that if I didn't give endlessly, I wouldn't be valued. But the truth is that love and respect that require self-sacrifice are not genuine. Real relationships thrive on mutual respect and understanding, not on one person constantly giving while the other takes. Now, at this stage of life, I understand that protecting my peace doesn't make me selfish, it makes me wise. My boundaries are a reflection of the respect I have for myself and the life I've built. They allow me to nurture the relationships that truly matter, the ones where love flows both ways. And they help me avoid the exhaustion that comes from pouring into people and situations that don't pour back. To anyone who struggles with setting boundaries, I want to say this: it's not easy, but it's worth it. You will face resistance, both from others and from within yourself. But every step you take toward honoring your needs is a step toward a more authentic, fulfilling life. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They are about saying yes to yourself. They are about choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and self-love over self-neglect. At 65, I've discovered the profound joy of solitude. It's a joy that comes from knowing I am enough just as I am, without needing to prove my worth to anyone. It's a joy that allows me to give freely, not out of obligation, but from a place of abundance. And it's a joy that reminds me every day that the most important relationship I will ever have is the one I have with myself. 6. Selective relationships are healthier. Boundaries didn't just save me. They reshaped my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. But let me be honest with you, they didn't come easily or overnight. They were born out of years of painful lessons, endless self-reflection, and, quite frankly, a lot of tears. At first, the thought of setting boundaries felt like a betrayal, like I was being selfish or unkind. How could I possibly say no to a family member who needed help or a friend who wanted to talk endlessly about their problems? It felt heartless. I worried I would come across as cold or distant. But eventually, I came to understand something transformative. Saying no isn't rejection. It's not about shutting people out, it's about letting yourself in. It's about creating the space you need to prioritize your well-being and embrace what truly matters to you. Learning to set boundaries was a process, one marked by small, uncomfortable steps forward and, occasionally, a few steps back. I remember the first time I said no to a relative who was always quick to ask for favors but never returned the gesture. My heart raced, my palms were sweaty, and guilt consumed me for days afterward. But over time, as I practiced, I realized that boundaries weren't about being selfish or mean, they were an act of self-respect. I wasn't rejecting people. I was choosing to invest my energy wisely. Each no became an invitation for something better, a chance to align my life with my values and needs. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are gates designed to protect what's precious inside while allowing the right people in. They helped me recognize who added light to my life and who cast shadows. For me, this meant stepping back from relationships that fed off negativity, those endless conversations dripping with gossip or complaints that left me emotionally drained. It meant putting limits on interactions with relatives who brought chaos and drama into family gatherings, turning moments of celebration into arenas of tension. It meant redefining how I spent time with neighbors and acquaintances, choosing to engage with those who respected my space instead of those who treated my time as a bottomless resource. These decisions were far from easy. There were moments when guilt gnawed at me, whispering that I was being unfair or overly harsh. Sometimes I questioned myself, wondering if I was asking too much or being too rigid. And yes, there were moments of loneliness when I wondered if I was isolating myself too much. But here's what I discovered. The relationships that endured after I set boundaries were the ones that truly mattered. They became deeper, more meaningful, and filled with mutual respect and understanding. I didn't lose anything of value. I only let go of what was weighing me down. Boundaries, I've learned, are a form of love, not just for yourself, but for others too. They allow you to show up authentically in your relationships because you're no longer drained or resentful. When you stop saying yes out of obligation and start saying yes out of genuine desire, the dynamics of your relationships transform. People begin to understand that your time and energy are valuable, and those who truly care about you will respect that. They'll honor your boundaries because they honor you. The freedom that boundaries have brought into my life is immeasurable. I no longer feel stretched thin or pulled in too many directions. I no longer feel the weight of obligations that aren't mine to carry. Instead, I feel light, peaceful, and in control. The relationships I nurture now bring joy, inspiration, and a sense of reciprocity. I've learned that it's not about shutting people out, it's about creating room for the right ones to come closer. And in doing so, I've built a life that feels more authentic, more aligned, and so much more fulfilling. Boundaries are not just a tool, they are a gift, one that I continue to give myself every single day. 7. Protecting your peace. The path to protecting my peace has been anything but smooth. It has required courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to myself. Setting boundaries, especially in a world that often equates selflessness with virtue, can feel like an uphill battle. People don't always take kindly to it. Some see your boundaries as a personal affront, while others accuse you of being selfish or unkind. At times, I've struggled with the weight of those judgments, questioning whether I was doing the right thing. But as I've grown older, wiser, I like to think, I've realized that protecting my peace isn't just a choice, it's a necessity. At 65, I understand something I wish I had known earlier. My well-being is my responsibility. I am not here to carry the burdens of others at the expense of my happiness. For too long, I allowed guilt to dictate my actions, letting the fear of disappointing others take precedence over my own needs. But no more. My days are too precious, my time too limited, to be spent in ways that don't align with the life I want to lead. It hasn't been easy. Saying no felt almost impossible in the beginning, like a betrayal of the relationships I valued or the roles I had assumed for years. But each time I said no, each time I chose to prioritize myself, it became a little easier. Now, instead of guilt, I feel a quiet sense of pride when I protect my time and energy. It's an act of self-love, a reminder that my happiness matters just as much as anyone else's. Setting boundaries has been one of the most transformative lessons of my life. It has taught me the power of clear communication, something I struggled with for years. I've learned to express my needs openly and honestly, without hesitation or apology. No has become a complete sentence, one I deliver with grace but also with conviction. I've also learned to recognize when a situation or relationship no longer serves me and to walk away without looking back. These are not skills I mastered overnight. They've been honed through years of trial and error, tears and triumphs. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Looking back, I wish I had learned these lessons sooner, but I also know that life unfolds in its own time. I've come to believe that wisdom is a gift earned through experience, and while I may have discovered these truths later in life, they feel all the more meaningful now. The freedom that comes from setting boundaries is indescribable. For the first time in decades, my life feels like it truly belongs to me. My calendar is no longer crowded with obligations that leave me drained and unfulfilled. Instead, it is filled with moments that bring me genuine joy. I spend quiet afternoons lost in a book, savor the laughter of loved ones who uplift and inspire me, and cherish the simple act of sitting in my garden, surrounded by the beauty of nature. Each day feels like a gift, one that I no longer squander on things that don't align with my values or bring me happiness. I've realized that my boundaries are not walls meant to isolate me but gates that I control, allowing in only what enriches my life. It's a perspective that has given me a sense of empowerment I never knew I needed. With each decision to uphold a boundary, I feel a growing sense of self-worth. I am reminded that I am worthy of peace, of joy, of fulfillment. I've learned to let go of the fear that I'm being selfish or unkind by putting myself first. Instead, I see boundaries as acts of self-care, as gifts I give to myself to honor the life I've worked so hard to build. At this stage in life, every moment feels precious. I no longer have the time or energy to waste on stress, conflict, or relationships that drain me. My boundaries ensure that the moments I do have are spent wisely, guided by my sense of purpose and joy. If there's one lesson I could pass on to others, it's this: protecting your peace is not just important, it's essential. Boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to a more authentic, fulfilling life. They are the foundation upon which we can create a life that aligns with our values and reflects our worth. At 65, I no longer see boundaries as limitations or acts of defiance. I see them as one of the greatest gifts I can give myself. A gift of peace, clarity, and the freedom to live fully and authentically. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. As we wrap up this journey of self-reflection and growth, I hope you found something in this story that resonates with your own life. Protecting our peace and setting boundaries is a deeply personal journey, and it's one that evolves as we do. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from this discussion? Is there one thing about protecting your peace or setting boundaries that truly stood out to you? What will you bring into practice in your own life moving forward? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights and stories might just inspire someone else on their journey to a more peaceful and fulfilled life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you're helping us create more content that inspires and empowers. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.